So today I want to talk to you about something that I firmly believe is something that could be the key to happiness in your own life. And it's a really hot topic at the moment, is this idea of creating the perfect life that you want and creating that life and that future and a dream of what you see the rest of your life being like. And I bet a big part of that is happiness. But there is one little thing, one simple trick that you can do right now to anything in your life that will completely change and give you that happiness that you're looking for. And it's all to do with this. Nothing has a meaning except the one that you attach to it. You see, we attach a meaning to everything. Even if it's an experience in our past, maybe it's something that we're going through right now, or maybe it's something that might happen in the future. It might be an object in the world, it might be a person, it might be a time frame, it could be absolutely anything. We will attach a meaning to it to help us understand what's going on in the world around us. It is a very natural thing to do, and we all do it with everything, so that we can better understand what's going on and create a relationship with that world. We also allow our perceptions to be influenced by the world around us and also other people around us as well. So we will take from their experiences and their meanings, and we will adopt the ones that we feel will help us understand something better and understand the world around us. Sometimes we see things as being good and helpful for us, and sometimes we see things as being bad and not very helpful for us. So there's a great line in a film, and I forget which film it is, but I have a feeling it might be something like Kung Fu Panda. And yes, I know I'm quoting Kung Fu Panda, but it's but it's actually a really good line. It's a really good way of looking at exactly what I'm saying. So the line is this:
It's very bad news. Shifu. There is just news. There is no good or bad.
So there are two characters. Character one says, "I've got some bad news." Character 2 says, "There is no bad news. There is no good news. There is only news." And I think that is such a poetic way of saying, in this instance, that the news isn't good or bad. It is just how you receive it. And the meaning that you attach to that news, which you would then maybe call good or bad, or helpful or unhelpful, or resourceful or unresourceful. But the thing itself, the news, has no meaning. It is simply just the meaning that you attach to it. I want to share something with you. So, about 8 years ago, I was working as a web developer for a design agency, and through a combination of things like, for example, staff leaving and the company investing money in the sales department rather than the actual production department, it left me with such a high amount of work and such a long client list and projects that I was on with, that I just didn't have enough time during the day to actually work on them all. So I was taking work home at night and on the weekends, and it got to a point where I was just having so much work I didn't have the time to do it. And the responsibility of all of these small, medium businesses who really relied on their website fell on my shoulders, and it really started to take its toll with me. See, these people relied on having a web presence. They were only small businesses at the end of the day, and they relied on this online presence to help keep their own business going. So I had all of these, and like I said, the company was pushing so much on sales and not into the actual web development department. So they were bringing in new sales staff and they were training them up to go out and make more sales. Well, once a bucket's so full, you can't put any more water into it. So it just got to a point where I felt I wasn't being listened to, and I just had so much work to do, and I was just focusing on doing it. I was bringing it home and I was working on it at home, and it wasn't a great time. And all of that pressure and all of that responsibility started to build up a real deep anxiety within me, because I was dreading going into work, or I was dreading every time the phone rang, because I knew it would be a customer or my boss or someone just wanting to know where things were, or being very aggressive because things weren't where they should be, or the way they were being told things were going to be, and things weren't there because I had so much work to do, and I was just constantly working on things to the point where it built up, like I said, such a level of anxiety within me. And I remember I became really closed off to everything. I didn't want to talk to people because every time I did talk to someone, it was always someone like my boss, for example, who was annoyed that he'd had a phone call, or it was one of the customers themselves that were annoyed because things weren't where they should be. And I closed off talking to people. I could very rarely sleep, and when I did, my dreams were filled with just lines and lines and lines of scrolling code or computer code that made absolutely no sense at all, and just horrible, angry voices in my dreams as well, and it made me not want to sleep. And my diet and appetite completely went out the window. I didn't really want to eat anything because I was so focused on what was going on and around me in this constant world that was building up around me, and it was not a good time. I was constantly very emotional to the point where I was on the edge of crying on a hourly basis, minutely basis, if that makes sense. I'm getting emotional now just thinking about it. It was not fun, and I'd have these constant outbursts of emotion where I would cry and shout and scream and kick, because that was what was going on inside my head. And that's what I thought the norm was. It was such a difficult time for me because that life that I had around me and that what was going on inside of my head caused me to push people away. The people who love me and care about me the most in this world, my parents, my family, my friends, my now the most amazing person in the world, my wife Bex. And at the time it was just, at the time there was nothing that they could do or say that could get through, because I'd ended up in this bubble, and anything that they did say to me or did do to me or tried to do to help me just didn't really work, because I was closing them off. And every time they did break through, they released this anger or sadness or outbursts of tears, and that's, like I said, that was the way of releasing it for me, because that's what was going on in my head at the time. So I eventually took myself to the doctor, and I told the doctor everything that was going on, and I told them what was going on inside my head and the reasons for it. And after a few questions, I think we were there for about 10-15 minutes, the doctor said to me, right, based on what we've talked about today, I recognise that you are suffering from anxiety and depression. And because I was so trapped in it, I didn't know what it was. And I couldn't see the woods for the trees. I didn't really know what was going on or what was happening to me or how to help get myself out of it, or other people to help get myself out of it. So as soon as the doctor said it's depression and it's anxiety, it made sense. I kind of understood what was going on. And it was because I just assumed that this was the norm. As soon as the doctor said that's what it was, it made sense. So after the discussion with the doctor, he issued me with a sick note to tell me not to go to work. And yeah, there I was, early 20s, sat inside a doctor's with a sick note for anxiety and depression. And it meant I wasn't going to go to work. And the doctor told me when that sick note expired to come back and get another one. So I took the note to the boss, handed it over to him, and left, walked out. I did eventually go back after a good time away to try and help clear what was going on inside my head. But it took that time off to help me really look inside and see what was going on, and I learned a lot about myself from that experience, and I now know more about the inner workings of my own mind and where my limits are. But it took that for that to happen. Recently I was on a course, and the speaker of the course invited me up on stage, and I sat there, and originally the conversation wasn't about this. I think it was a conversation about something else altogether, and this came out. This whole thing that I've just told you came out, and I told everyone the same story that I've just told you about my past. I sensed there was a real connection with the people in the audience because they were listening to what I was saying, and they could really see the emotion and hear the emotion in what I was saying. And I got a sense of empathy and sympathy from the people in the audience because maybe they've been through similar things, or new people have been through similar things, or it's a very on-topic thing in recent years, is this idea of people going through or battling with depression and anxiety. So as I was telling the story, it really resonated with them, and they got what I was saying and where I was coming from. But then what I said next really shocked them. So as I said, that was a really dark time for me, and again, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody, but I still wouldn't have changed it for anything. And I'm actually glad that that was a part of my life. I'm glad I went through that. I'm glad I experienced it. And you're probably thinking, but Dom, you've just said that was a really dark time in your life. And yes, it was. It was not a great time at all. But if I hadn't have had that experience, if I hadn't been through that, if I hadn't have, gone and, let's potentially say, hit a really low level in my life, then there is so much I wouldn't have learned about myself. There are things that I wouldn't know about me. I realised then and there that I didn't want to do what I was doing for the rest of my life. I enjoyed, and I still enjoy the web design, web development element of it, but I don't want to work for a company where I'm working 9 to 5 and then taking stuff home at night and the weekend. I was making a boss rich. I was contributing to his dream rather than realising and building my own. At the time, I didn't know what my dream was, but I knew after that experience that it wasn't to make their dream come true. It was to realise what my own dream was, to go make that a reality. But I feel if I hadn't have had that experience, I'd still be sat in that office. I'd still be doing all the things that eventually contributed to me going down the road that I went down and not being very well and having anxiety, having depression. And I quickly realised that I didn't want the 9 to 5. I didn't want to live for the weekends. I didn't want to, even though after a few years, and if I'd have stayed at it and I look at now what kind of salary I would have been on, yes, it would have been a good salary, but it wouldn't have been a good life. It wouldn't have been the life that I really, really wanted, because I would have never seen anyone. I'd have been constantly working. Yes, I'd have been making lots of money and potentially move to a nice big house somewhere, but I'd still be tied to that same life that I had in my early 20s, and it would not have been as enjoyable as my life has been now. So I look back at that time with actually a smile on my face. I think of it as an experience which had to happen to me. It had to be something that happened to me in order for me to make a change. And that's the whole key to this. And I think if you can use this same idea, this same principle in anything in your own life, it really can be the key to happiness. I firmly believe it can be the key to happiness. And I think the key to happiness is choice. Choose the meaning that you want to attach to something. As I said earlier, nothing has a meaning except the meaning that you attach to it. And you have a choice of what meaning you attach to anything, any experience, any object, any person, any conversation, Anything that happens in your life, you can choose what the meaning is. The key is choice. You can choose how you allow something to impact your life. You can choose whether you want to turn your back to the future and face your past, or if you wish, you can face your future and you can let your past push you towards it, if you choose to. So another one of my favourite quotes, and you'll quickly realise in these videos I like quotes, but this one is by one of the co-founders of NLP, a guy called Richard Bandler, and his quote was, "It's never too late to have a happy childhood." You see, you can't necessarily change what happened in one of your experiences in the past. You can't change the steps of it or the outcome or what actually happened in the moment. Like for me, I can't change what happened in my past when I was working for that company. That happened, that's now set in stone. But what I can change is my relationship with what happened in the past and how I allow that experience to impact me. That I can change. And if I want, and if I choose to, I can make it a happy, positive, helpful experience rather than a negative, unhelpful experience. An experience is not the meaning of the experience. The meaning is just something you attach to it, as I said, to help you make sense of it. Change the meaning of the experience, and you can change what that experience means to you. So guys, thank you so much for listening. I really hope you've enjoyed this one and taken something from it. If you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I believe it's one of these sides, but I always get it the wrong way around on these videos. So yeah, click the like button. If you really got something from it and you want to share an experience or you want to share something that you got from this video, please, in the comments down below, just give me a little message. I always reply to every single one of them. If you want to see more videos from me, then click the subscribe button. I'm not going to point where it is, it's somewhere down there. Click the subscribe button, and every time I put out a video, you'll get a notification. I want to put more of these videos out because I want to give back. I want to put things out there into the universe that people can watch and take something from and help change their own life. That's the whole point of all of these videos. So please do click on that subscribe button for more videos. As I said, thank you so much for watching, and guys, I cannot wait to see you all in the next video.
Now my wheels